You climbed in the valley a little bit as well, I know.
Yeah, I went to the valley in 1967 for the first time.
This is Climbing Gold. Tell me about it.
I don't remember that trip as much as the next spring, the spring of '68. I showed up early when it was still snow on the ground. And there were like 8 of us there when when everybody else left after the weekend, right? And it was Bridwell was the only Californian. Uh, the Birchef brothers sometimes, but mostly Jim. So it was me and Bridwell, Jim Madsen, who's the best rock climber I ever knew in my life. There were 2 guys from Seattle, Jim Madsen and Kim Schmitz. 2 guys from Portland were there a lot. Other California guy, the old school of California, which was Chenard, Frost, Pratt, Robbins, they were gone, but they would occasionally show up on the weekend. Uh, and do stuff. And we had this Dirtbag thing pisses me off because people don't get it. Of all of us, we did not own a tent. We had Bridwell had a pressure cooker with which we made our staple, which was either popcorn or brown rice. And then he had a big gray tarp. We would take all our sleeping bags and line them up when a snowstorm came, and we'd sleep under this tarp. So if you imagine a tarp with all of us underneath it, and then in the morning you'd see how much snow is on the tarp, and then you'd get your clothes and shimmy out and run to the bathroom and then run to the cafeteria to see if you could scarf some food from somebody. That hasn't really changed, I don't think. But anyway, nobody had a big enough rack to do a big wall. So you had to put pitons and carabiners on the communal rack. So under the picnic table was this rack that was the everybody rack. And then you negotiate as who got to take it to go on a climb. And everybody had their own smaller rack for cragging and doing stuff. But so it was pretty cool. And we were doing first free ascents that you didn't really know because there was nobody keeping track. But we were going up on the big walls that the Robbins, Pratt, Chenard et al. Had done in 5 days and 6 days, and we were doing them in 2 or 3 days. So we didn't realize it. I think we were the best climbers in the country, but we didn't know it because we were all 18 years old or 19 years old or 20 or something. But it was pretty fun.
It's an interesting, it's sort of in between eras in a way. It's kind of in between the golden age of Yosemite, the first ascents of all the walls, and then the sort of stone masters that came later.
We were the transition.
Yeah,
Goodwill
totally.
and I failed going to Sickle Ledge.
Failed free climbing or climbing?
Just going. It took us all day to get to Sickle, and the ropes were, I remember this giant tangle of rope that like 3 ropes all just in a knot, and I was trying to untangle it. And I think there were 4 of us, and we got to Sickle. It took all day, and we looked at each other as like, okay, we are not ready.
That's the classic nose climbing experience right there. I feel like half the parties that attempt the nose make it to Sickle, which is 4 pitches off the ground, and then look up at the rest of the wall and think there is no way, and then decide to go down and camp back on the valley floor again.
Exactly. I had led the 6th pitch, and he was climbing up, and he didn't have his hammer sling on, and he tried to take a piton. He took a piton out, and then he couldn't find his holster, and so he just let go of the hammer, thinking the hammer would hang from the sling, and the hammer fell to the ground. And I didn't say anything. I'm sitting up there in the belay seat. He climbs up the next piton. Jumar's up the next piton. And he starts looking for his hammer, and he looks and looks and looks and looks and looks, and finally stops, and he looks up at me, and I just kind of grin at him and go, yeah, it's on the ground. We're going down. So it was fun. We were kids. We were making it up.
Did you eventually succeed on the nose?
I did the 13th ascent of the nose with my friend Wayne Goss just before I got drafted and went to Vietnam in 1968. And we did it in 2 bivvies, and yeah, from the ground in 2 bivvies. We had a great time.
Well, and that was pre-harnesses, pre-nuts. I mean, so yeah, so you hip belayed the nose.
Hip belayed the nose.
What do you do? Like all the hanging belays and things? You just hang there and hip belay.
We had belay seats. We had these nylon we called them butt bags. Chenard made them. They were like a little tiny, they were nylon with two slings and they were little, you could put them in your pocket. And then you'd clip that into the anchor and then you'd sit in it. And the stirrups were tied, nylon webbing tied into a stirrup, an 8 stirrup. So you had your nylon stirrups and then you could sit in your butt bag.
I
Was,
mean, you make that all sound so civilized, but I'm like, that's horrible. And then to hit belay and to like sit, it's like it's so slow and painful and cumbersome.
and the haul bags were army duffel bags, army surplus duffel bags. And so you'd have one that had the water in it, the weight, and then the other one would be loose on the outside. We got pretty good at rigging them so they would last like a whole climb.
So
Whole
when you're doing the 13th ascent of the nose, were there any other people on the wall at a time like that? Because there were only,
I've
what,
never,
a half dozen routes on El Cap at that point. So there are hardly any other routes, and there are hardly any other climbers capable of climbing any of those routes. So I mean, does that just mean you're alone on the giant wall?
I've climbed El Cap twice successfully in 3 or 4 attempts, and I've never been on the wall with another person on the wall.
Man, that is an experience that would be hard to have nowadays. I mean, still possible nowadays, but much harder. It's
Yeah,
like you're so rarely alone on El Cap nowadays.
yeah,
That's
it
cra
was
I mean,
cool.
did it feel like crazy?
Oh, it just felt we were stoked. We were excited. It was wonderful. We loved it. It was great. And we didn't get, I mean, I was like, when I did the nose, I had these big blue Robin shoes, which were like a mountain boot that was a low cut mountain boot with rubber on it. That was probably the best off width shoe ever. But like the stove legs, um, you just, you only had two 2 inch bongs, two 2.5s and two 3s. So we probably only put 3 pieces of gear in pitch.
That's how we do it nowadays too. So, they're all hand cracks, I mean, who needs the gear in there?
Yeah.
Not just kidding. But so I mean, the moon landing was the year after that, I think. And so
Yes, it
did you guys
was.
feel like astronauts up there, just like alone on another world, just having a full-on experience?
I don't know. I still literally can remember penduluming into the stove legs, and I pendulum out there, and I was looking for something to hold on to, a flake or something, and then I realized too late that that wasn't going to happen. So I went running back this way, and then I ran back, and I stuck my hand in the crack, and then I looked up at this crack going all the way into the sky.
Yeah, all the way to space.
Yeah, and I was just like as happy as a person could be. I was like, this is the best there ever was. And
That
then,
that right there is probably why you're such a good lifetime climber, because I think to be in a position like that and be like, this is amazing, I live for this. I mean,
yeah,
that's how you've been able
exactly.
to climb at a high level for 66 years or whatever you said. It's
Yeah,
like, that is incredible.
yeah. And then, and then I had to climb up until I was high enough above the Blair that he could swing over. So I couldn't put any gear in for 60 or 80 feet or whatever, and I was fine with
Yeah,
that. Here I go.
that is amazing. It's funny because that's really similar to the experiences that you have on the nose nowadays, in a way. Just like punching up the cracks. It's like it's the same cracks. It's the same feeling of awe and grandness, looking up and being like, oh wow, it just goes all the way to space. Like here we go.
Exactly.
Except the difference is the safety margins now are quite a bit better. That the rope
Yeah.
will actually hold a fall, and the gear is all rated, and everything's been quality controlled, and